Hello Ace, this is RetroTK2 and once again we're back making our Pokémon Rom Hack. Last time we changed how the actual starter Pokémon worked, and this time we're sort of going to return, I want to return to the Pokémon launcher, and I kind of want to tidy it up a little bit more. So let's get stuck into this, Ace. Okay, so the Pokémon launcher, we already know how it works. Click a button and it will instantly load in our brilliant Pokémon ROM. So this time I want to make it so that we clean up the code, and I really want to get save states working with this thing if we can. It'd be cool if we could actually load in the save states. So double click on the actual Pokemon editor window and let's get stuck into Visual Studio. Okay, so this time around I want to use something called a object field. So what this will let us do is actually save an object. Save an object such as a folder, and we'll be able to get the path from that folder. Hopefully this all works. I'm not 100% sure if you can use outside objects that aren't already imported into Unity with this. And if that is the case, then that's totally fine because we'll be able to use something else with it. And we'll also be using some saving stuff as well. So let's get stuck into this first. Editor GUI layout. And then we want to have object field, which is perfect. And we want to have a label, which is going to be Visual Boy Path. Yeah, perfect. And then we want to have it so that we actually put in our object. Now with the object field, I believe I can actually just plug in. No, I can't. Okay, so I actually have to, we're not allowed to use the, what do you call them again? The generic types. We have to actually go in and use this stuff. By the way, yes, if you have no idea what I'm talking about and you've not really done that much C#, don't worry too much about this. For now, just copy it down. I haven't covered this in my actual basic C# series. And so, you know, it's totally fine to be a wee bit worried and I guess scared about what's going on here because, well, because, you know, this is tough. This is heavy duty stuff. Oops, it is. So I actually need to type in, I need to add in the object there first. And then judging by this should be okay. Type object type, perfect. Allow scene objects. We don't want to allow scene objects. Scene objects are just anything in the actual hierarchy of Unity. And that should hopefully all work. And we'll do that as an object. And that should work. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work because it hasn't been declared, which would make sense. Okay, so let's make this. Yeah, okay, so let's make this its own field. Make it a private field, and then we can just go and do something similar to this, which is brilliant. So we actually have to declare this. Since we're using an object, it isn't going to be that big a problem, but usually if you were using something, say we wanted to plug in a game object into this object field, we would actually have to say something like game object here, and then use game object up here, and then we would actually have to cast it here because this method returns a Unity object, if you want to call it that. So you would actually have to go into here and go as game object so that it converts this object into a game object. Again, we haven't gone over that yet, yes, so please sort of ignore that. Be wary of it. If you've done any sort of C#, you should sort of understand that. If you haven't, don't worry too much about it. We will cover it at some stage. Now, the big question is this going to work? I don't think it will, but we will definitely see. Hopefully it will. So there you go. As you can see, Visual Boy Path and the object doesn't technically exist, and I don't think we can do this because, as you can see, it won't even let me drag it into the Unity sphere. So let's go down a different path, and that's totally fine with that. Instead, I will use, if I get rid of them first, instead I'm going to use the, I believe it's the editor utility. Okay. Yeah, there she is. Editor utility, and then can I bring up, oh, I can't even remember, dialog, display dialog. Not quite. No, it's file dialog I want, isn't it? File something. Open file panel. There she is. Perfect. String, directory, and the extension. Save file panel. Okay, let's try this one first, Ace, and let's see how we get on. So I'm not actually 100% sure how to actually use this. So I'm just going to type in, I'm going to type this stuff in like this and leave it at that. So I don't even know if we can actually open a, well, we know that we're looking for, sorry, we know we're looking for an exe. So that'll do for that. And then we will have this as a, oops, I kind of want to have this just as its own sort of path. So let's call this VBA path. Perfect. And then we want to have that as a string, I believe. Yeah, perfect. So what this is actually going to do is just going to give us back the actual path to our executable. So once we get the path, then we can use something else. I mean, file dot, you can use the file IO stuff to actually open whatever file is located at that path. But all we need to have is that so that the user can actually just get that file path for the .exe. And I also want to have then, of course, the ROM path, which is going to be a, I can't even remember what it is. GB.GBA. Okay, .GBA. Brilliant. Now, I'm not actually sure if you need to have the dot in this extension is, but well, we're certainly about to find out anyway. So let's go and do that. And just so that we can actually see what's going on, let's do an editor GUI. Editor GUI, brilliant, perfect. GUI layout, I believe. Yep, and label is label field. Yeah, that'll do, why not? Label field, and we'll have the VBA path, and that's perfect. And then we'll also have the ROM path as well down below it, just to make sure that it actually all works. And we want to have a button as well so that we can open those things. Okay, so this is a little bit, you know, it's a little bit slapdash, I guess, but hopefully it's not that too difficult to follow. And I mean, the code is extremely messy at the minute, but hopefully you know exactly what's going on here and are able to, well, are able to follow it, I guess. ROM path. Okay, cool. Okay, so now if we go back into save and head back into Unity, hopefully it should all recompile and then everything should work as intended. Okay, so as you can see, because the actual strings themselves are just empty strings at the minute, nothing is sort of being displayed. If I click on VBA path, we get the .exe down here. Yes, okay, so you're not meant to have the dot there because otherwise it comes up as .exe, which is not correct. So let's save that, head back into Unity and wait for it to recompile, of course. And there she goes. And if we click onto here, you'll see now that we're looking for a .exe. And since we provided it with no path for the actual directory, you can see as well now that we actually have, it just opens it up at the Unity directory, which is perfect for us because our ROM is right here and so is Visual Boy Advanced. So let's click on Visual Boy Advanced, click open, and now you can see we get that nice, perfect path straight to the actual Visual Boy Advanced, which is brilliant, which is exactly what we're looking for. So now if we go into here and click on our ROM hack version, you'll see now we get the full path. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't actually fit on the screen because the path itself was just too big, but we can actually, you know, resize the window and it's all brilliant. So what now? What now is, what do I want now? Well, now we want to save that path, and the way that you save, okay, we're going to go over quite a bit of stuff here, is it's going to be very quick, but here we go. Let's get it going. So onEnable is another method. It's one of those Unity methods that is used, I won't say quite often, but onEnable here basically just means that whenever the window is opened, it'll execute this code. So if I go and type in some Unity Spice, one of the Unity Spice logs, this should probably come up now. So it'll recompile, and then the onEnabled will probably get called. There you are. So it gets called there. But if I exit this and then reopen it, the onEnabled should also get called as well. And as you can see, it gets called, but only gets called once, and from now on it won't be getting called unless we set it up so that some other method or whatever, maybe one of the buttons, would launch whatever that code was. But unenabled gets called once. And what that means for us is that we can save our VBA path here. And then whenever the actual video or window gets loaded or launched again, it will load the VBA path from an external file. Or in this case, we're going to use something called EditorPrefs. Now, if any of you have used Unity before, you'll know about something called PlayerPrefs. And it's pretty much exactly the same. The only thing with EditorPrefs is, of course, I believe EditorPrefs saves it to your Windows registry, and then PlayerPrefs would just save it to, if you're running it from Unity, if you're just running the game from Unity, PlayerPrefs will use the registry as well. But if you were running the game externally, it would save the PlayerPrefs in your build folder, or if you were using it like from the Xbox or whatever, it would use the Xbox proprietary saving system. All of this has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now. So let's just forget about it. So you've got a number of, so EditorPrefs and then dot, and you've got a number of different preferences that you can choose. And what we want to use here is set string. So we've got a key and a value, and the value, of course, is just going to be our VBA path. The string, or the key value, is the value that it saves it under in the registry. So we can call this whatever we want, and I want to call it, yeah, you guessed it, VBA path. Perfect. And the reason why we're having problems here is because it's a set method, not a get method. So there you go, Ace. That is pretty much it. And I kind of want to introduce our own constants variable here. Introduce field and introduce the constant. Now, I haven't done constants yet, Ace. Basically what it is that this string will never change. So the assumption is that this string is not going to change. So if I do VBA path and set it equal to another string, it's going to come up with an error saying that it's a constant, it's immutable, you should not change constants ever, go away retro. Okay, fair enough. So what it really basically does is that it means that if I go and change this, since we're using an actual field, it won't matter what's here, it will still just work. The thing is though that if we change this up here, if we change this string here, the key that it saves it under will be different. So if I was to change it to VBA path, set the string here down here, and then change this key, then that means that this set string is no longer to that correct key, so therefore it will save it at under a different registry key. Oh, very complicated, Ace, unnecessarily so, no doubt, and no doubt I'm over explaining it, Ace. It's probably like, oh well, I kind of knew what you were talking about, Retro, until you started speaking. But hey, it's all part of the fun, Ace. So here we go, VBA path, and so now what I wanted to do is get the string VBA path, which is at the key VBA path in the registry, and then it will set our VBA path to the string that's saved at that key value in the registry. If nothing exists already, then it'll just sort of just come in as an empty string. And whenever we click the button, VBA path, it will open the file dialog panel. It will wait until we select our actual executable file. Then it will save the path to the actual executable in the key that we've provided, which is VBA path. Hopefully that all makes sense, is because really this is really good programming. This is the essence of programming. So here we go. Okay, so we've loaded it up, and as we know, we've only just set up our path, our saving system, if you want to call it that. So let's go in and let's change this to ROM. Yeah, Visual Boy Advance. Brilliant. Okay, so now we've set the actual string. So if I close this and launch our launcher, it did not work. Why did it not work? It didn't work because we didn't save it here, which is really stupid. So now even actually whenever we go back in, the on enable will get called and it should come up. Yes, there she is, yes, as you can see. So brilliant. So now if I close out of that and go to the launcher, you can see now our on enable is getting called. It's getting the string from our saved key of the VBA path. And so now our VBA path will be set to that. And it means that we can now use this VBA path where our full path was, hopefully. So if I change full path to just be our VBA path, it will hopefully all just work. Yes, we shall see. So I've saved that there, go back in, wait for it to recompile. And it does, play ROM, and there we go. Our executable is all set up. So now we can get rid of all of this because it's not being used at all anywhere in our program. And now we can also inline the full path method, which is fantastic. So now I rinse and repeat. We can go and do the exact same thing. Just going to copy and paste this code, which is absolutely diabolical. You really don't want to be doing that at all in your in your code, I guess. But I'll show you how to. I'll show you how to tidy that up in a little second. I just want to quickly do this, get it working, and then yeah, and then that should be. I mean, we could pretty much stop it there, but I kind of want to go a wee bit more further just to show you some good practices, and just whenever it comes to tidying stuff up. Okay, so VBA path, as you can see, set string VBA path, which is terrible. This is the reason why copying and pasting is a bad idea, is because there's an awful lot that could go wrong. If I miss one of these, so if I missed the VBA path, then the ROM path would point to the VBA path and vice versa. And it's just usually bad practice to copy and paste code. But hey, that's what we're doing right now. So, okay, so let's go into this now. Wait for it to recompile. Hopefully this should all just continue to show Visual Boy Advance's path. And it does, which is brilliant. So if I go to ROM path now, click on our ROM path and navigate towards that, you'll see that it comes up with the ROM path, which is fine. We've already seen that. But if I go back in, you'll see that it's now saved it is. So now if I go to play ROM, no, that's not going to work because I haven't set it up here. So let's go and set it up here. ROM path will be now this, and now these are no longer being used. So hopefully pretty soon we will be able to delete them. And we just wait for it to load, which it does, hopefully, and click play ROM. Oh dear. And it's not working now because we haven't formatted the string correctly, yes, which makes perfect sense. Okay, let's go and format the string then. And the way to format the string is just by doing this, of course. Yeah, this is the same problem we had last time, if you remember, Race, where you had to have the correct number. You actually had to put in the speech marks to the string. So format, and then, yep, great. And now, that should hopefully all work now. So as you can see, this is the reason why, refactoring can be good, but it can also be very, very dangerous. So you want to tread very, very carefully. Ideally, you'll have your code version controlled, and you'll be able to just pop back like, oh no, I've messed it all up. If you can just reset the changes and go back to your last save commit. This, of course, is not version controlled, which is a problem, but because the code's so small, it's okay. It's okay to keep track of what's going on, and it's quick enough to just go back in and manually test it. So that all worked brilliantly, yes, which is great. So let's inline this variable and delete all this. And now you can see we've cut it all down to pretty much just this, which is great, So I wonder if I should if I delete this here, would it matter? No, okay, cool. Doesn't seem to be complaining about that at all. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Yes, we could stop the video there. But as you can see, there's repetition going on here. So I kind of want to show you how to get rid of that repetition, because I think it's actually good. It's just good practice. So I kind of just want to show you, it's just good practice is to do what I'm about to do. So here we've got common similarities between two different parts of our method. So this part here you can see is pretty much repeated down here with very minor differences. I suppose the difference could be the title. We could do something with that. Definitely the extension is a difference. And of course the actual saved key is another difference as well. So if I go to here and I shift control and R, you can see we can do extract method, but I don't really want to do that. I want to do extract a class instead. There is shortcuts to do this in ReSharper ACE, but I got to be honest with you, I don't really know them. And anytime I've used them, it brings up different dialog boxes, and I find it quite difficult to keep track of. So I won't be showing that. I'll just be creating my own different class. So class, what is this? What is this class doing? This class is saving paths. I don't really want to call it path saver, but it essentially is that. Path saver will do for the moment. Is a better name in convention would definitely be needed there for that, but this'll do for now, I think. Now, what's actually happening here as well is well, not only are we mixing Unity stuff in around here, which is really, really difficult to detach, but we're also mixing in display stuff as well. This would be more so the view, if you ever heard of that before, and this would be known as the model. Although it's not quite technically a model, it's more stuff to do with the view as well. This would be more model behavior, I guess, or controller behavior or whatever, and that's all part of the MVC framework. But that, again, is unimportant. What we want to do is make it so that we can just essentially new up a version of our path saver class, plug in the path, which will be VBA path, VBA path, plug in the extension, ext, exe, pardon me, and then we'll do a dot display. And in the display, we are going to have all of this code. And let's tidy this up. So create the constructor, string, we'll just call that path, string extension. Brilliant. Not implemented, get rid of that. Go and introduce our read-only fields. Perfect. And then do the display method. Perfect. So as you can see, I've of course left out the button name as well, which is a bit of a problem. So if I copy and paste this, yes, I know. Oh, I'm enjoying that there now. And also maybe I should also, I'm going to bring this, I'm going to return the string from this method. So maybe get string would be better. Leave it as display, although I don't really like calling things display that return valuable model stuff, if you want to call it that. Or I'm using these terms incorrectly, yes, but it doesn't. It does matter, but I mean, well, yeah, no, it does matter. It does matter. It definitely does matter. So, so I've messed up a little bit here. Yes. Okay. So I've sort of messed up a wee bit here. I've assumed that this was the actual VBA path, which it's not. So we can actually just, we can have it so that, no, we can't. Sorry. So I want to have it so that this is the path here. We will go in and use that. No, I will have to actually pass in the path though. Oh, this is a nightmarious. So we'll have the path. What we have here is the actual key. So this VBA path is incorrect. We want to have VBA path key is a better name for this. And then ROM path key as well. You could call this save key or something like that, yes. I'm just going to call it key for now because the class is small enough to know exactly what that means. We need to have the path being passed in, so we'll pass it in like that. We will have the path set up like so. we will have that set up like so. This path here has now become the key, and that's key there. We will change this to key so that it all makes sense. Change that to key and display the label of path. That is a bit more like it. So extension we will also put down to here, and with any luck that will be correct. We also kind of want to have a title here. No, button. Yeah, button string. But this is, this is the way it is. Yes, this is a button str will do. This is development. This is what it's all about. Getting in there and, well, just getting it sorted essentially. And we will have this up here, and we'll call this VBA path. You can call it Visual Boy path as well if you want to. Make it a wee bit more obvious, painfully obvious. We're going to pass in the VBA path and retrieve out the VBA path. So now you can see, now you could have it so that this path saver was actually something else. This was its own, you could have it, you could actually use a wee bit of polymorphism here, but since I haven't really covered that yet, I don't really want to cover it here. But we'll leave it as just a generic constructor for the moment. But you could use polymorphism, which would make that look a lot nicer, in fairness. We'll leave it for the now, and we'll probably get back to it then, maybe whenever I've covered polymorphism properly on the actual C# series. So, path saver. Path saver, Visual Boy path, so that we want to have the ROM path. Say GBA ROM path. Yeah, that sounds a bit better. GBA ROM path. And then, as you can see now, we're actually repeating the command, but this is a lot better because we're going to basically call the exact same sort of type of code is. Since this down here is the exact same sort of code, we can delete this now. Now we've got one class that does, I mean, it does quite a lot, this class, which is a bit of a problem, but at least it, return path. Yeah, perfect. But it should all hopefully work. Fingers crossed. So as you can see now, we've tidied up the code a little bit. It's still not perfect, but it is a lot better than what it was, yes. So let's go back in here, and as you can see, everything should hopefully load correctly. Visual Boy path, shows up the path, GBA ROM path, and it'll show up the path. So if I go to play ROM now, you can see that it all loads brilliantly. And we won't get the chance to go into, I can actually extract this out into its own class. So we won't get a chance to actually speak about what, we won't get a chance to talk about save states yet, yes, but that's perfect. That really is good. So now it's all quite dynamic. So it means that if I go in and change this Visual Boy path, I can just come in here and actually set it up. And we could get probably a wee bit clever as well, yes, by making this play ROM path only show up if, so we could actually set it up so that, and you could do that, I suppose, if it came up as a cancel, then you could set it up so that, actually we could set it up here now. So this file, I suppose you could set it up that if this path equaled, or the thing that was returned was an empty string, you could set it so that it wouldn't save it, and you can make it so that path wouldn't be equal to it, but I'm not really that bothered by that, yes. Well, anyway, we've tidied it up, and you've seen how to actually save the extensions, or sorry, not the extensions, save the actual path. We could do something with the polymorphism here. I don't really want to do that, and we will leave it here. Yeah, I want to go on to save states next time, yes. So yeah, rate, comment, and subscribe, yes. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Pokémon Rom Hack. You can email me at retrotk2@gmail.com with any other advice or tutorials about, well, making a ROM hack for Pokemon. Thank you for watching this, and I'll see you in the next video.